Imagine you have a huge exam in just a few days and you haven't started yet. You start to feel that cold knot of panic in your stomach. You run to the library, grab a huge coffee, open your laptop, and you stay there until the sun comes up. You walk out feeling like a total warrior because you put in a 12-hour shift. But then the exam happens, you look at the first question, and your mind is a complete blank. You know you saw the answer. You can almost see the page it was on in your textbook, but you can't actually pull the information out of your head. This happens to almost everyone, and it's not because you aren't smart enough, it's because you spent those 12 hours tricking your brain into thinking it was learning when it was actually just on a long, boring vacation. If you want to actually learn more in 2 hours than most people do in an entire weekend, you have to stop playing pretend and start using the science of how your brain actually builds memories. The biggest enemy you have right now is something called the fluency illusion. This is the ultimate trap that almost every student falls into. Think about when you sit down to study. What's the first thing you do? You probably open your textbook, start reading a chapter, and grab a highlighter. You start painting the page neon yellow because everything looks important. Then you read it again just to make sure it sticks. As you read those words for the second or third time, your brain starts to recognize them. You think to yourself that you've got this. It feels easy. It feels smooth. That feeling of smoothness is the illusion. Your brain confuses being able to recognize a word with being able to actually use that information. It's like looking at a picture of a bicycle and thinking you know how to ride one. Just because the information is right there in front of your eyes doesn't mean it's actually stored in your long-term memory. When you read and highlight, you aren't doing any work. You're just moving your eyes across a page. This is called passive learning, and it is the fastest way to fail an exam while feeling like you're doing a great job. To break this illusion, you have to embrace the struggle. Real learning is supposed to feel hard. It's supposed to make your brain feel a little bit tired or even frustrated. Think about going to the gym. If you go there and pick up the lightest weights possible and do a few easy movements, you aren't going to get stronger. You have to lift the weights that make your muscles shake. Your brain works the exact same way. The way your brain actually stores information is through a process called active recall. This means instead of trying to put information into your brain by reading it over and over, you try to pull information out of your brain. Every time you struggle to remember something, you are carving that memory deeper into your mind. You are telling your brain that this specific piece of information is important and that it needs to be saved. A great way to do this is the blank sheet method. Next time you finish reading a section of a book, don't just move on to the next page. Close the book, put it away, and grab a totally blank piece of paper. Now try to write down everything you can remember from what you just read. You might only get 2 or 3 sentences at first. You might feel like you've forgotten everything. That's the moment where the real learning starts. Don't give up and look at the book right away. Sit there and really fight to remember. That mental effort is like a workout for your memory. Once you've written down everything you can, open the book and see what you missed. The things you forgot will now stick to your brain like glue because you created a gap in your knowledge and then filled it. This is how you spend 2 hours doing the work of 10. You aren't just looking at stuff, you are building a mental map from scratch. Now, even if you use active recall and learn something perfectly today, there is a very high chance you will forget most of it by next week. This is because of something called the forgetting curve. Our brains are designed to forget things that we don't use. If your brain kept every single piece of information it saw every day, it would get cluttered with useless junk like what some random person was wearing on the bus, or the lyrics to a song you don't even like. To keep the important stuff, you have to use spaced repetition. This means you review the information right at the moment you are about to forget it. If you study something on Monday, don't wait until the night before the exam to look at it again. Review it on Tuesday, then again on Friday, then again the following week. Each time you review it, the memory stays in your head for a longer period of time. The best tool for this is using flashcards, specifically an app like Anki. Instead of just writing a term and a definition, write a question on one side and the answer on the other. When you see the question, you have to use that active recall we talked about to find the answer. This simple shift in how you time your study sessions can save you dozens of hours of unnecessary work. But let's talk about your actual brain health during these study sessions. You probably think that if you just drink enough caffeine, you can power through a 6-hour study block. But your brain doesn't work in a straight line. It works in waves called Ultradian rhythms. Your body has a natural cycle where it is highly alert for about 90 minutes, and then needs a period of rest for about 20 minutes. If you try to push past that 90-minute mark, your concentration will fall off a cliff. You'll start checking your phone every 2 minutes, you'll get hungry, or you'll just stare at the same sentence without actually reading it. Most people try to fight this. They feel guilty for being tired, so they try to force themselves to keep going. This is a huge mistake. When you start to feel that brain fog rolling in, that is your body telling you that it's time for a break. Instead of scrolling through social media, which actually keeps your brain working and stressed, you need to do a real rest. Get up from your desk, leave your phone behind, and go for a walk. Stare out a window, do some dishes, or just sit quietly for 20 minutes. You need to let your mind wander. During these rest phases, your brain is actually processing the information you just fed it. It's moving things around and making connections. If you fill your break time with more digital noise, you never give your brain the space it needs to settle. By working in these 90-minute blocks with 20-minute breaks, you stay at peak performance the whole time. You'll get more done in 2 blocks of intense focus than someone else gets done in an entire afternoon of distracted, half-hearted studying. The final piece of this puzzle is the one that most students ignore because they want to seem like hard workers. It is sleep. If you are staying up until 3 in the morning to study for an exam the next day, you are literally sabotaging your own brain. Think of your brain like a construction site. During the day, you are bringing in all the bricks and the wood, but the actual building of the house happens while you are asleep. There is a part of your brain called the hippocampus, and its job is to take the short-term memories you made during the day and move them into long-term storage while you sleep. If you cut your sleep short, you are cutting off that moving process. Scientists have found that if you don't get enough sleep after learning something, you can lose up to 40% of that information. Imagine working for 10 hours and then someone just comes by and deletes 4 of those hours. That is exactly what happens when you pull an all-nighter. You might feel like you're getting more done, but you're actually just leaking information out of your head. This is why you get that frustrating feeling during an exam where the answer feels like it's on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't reach it. The information is there, but the connection wasn't fully built because you didn't give your brain the time it needed to finish the job. If you want to be a top student, you have to treat sleep like it's part of your study schedule. It's not a luxury, it's the second half of the learning process. Putting all of this together sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually the opposite. It's about being lazy in the smartest way possible. Why would you want to spend all day being miserable in a library when you could get the same results in 2 hours? By using active recall, you ensure that every minute you spend studying is actually changing your brain. By using spaced repetition, you make sure you don't have to relearn the same thing 5 times. By following your natural rhythms, you work with your body instead of against it. And by sleeping, you let your brain do the heavy lifting while you're unconscious.